We got a fun episode today with my friend Ryan, all the way from Miami. So thank you for joining us today,
Thank
Ryan. Let's go get started. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you're doing, who you are.
Who I am,
Who you
yeah.
are for listeners.
Yeah. My name's Ryan Wainwright. I am the North American brand ambassador for Bombay Gin. I originally was born and raised in Los Angeles, and that's really where I guess I did most of my bartending. But I've definitely traveled around a little bit as well. But yeah, came up through LA and definitely repping that.
That's awesome. Where'd you work in LA? Where'd you start cutting your teeth?
So LA, where it really started, I did a lot of random jobs when I was younger. I got a degree in photography out of college, which is really a degree in bartending.
Mhm.
Any of those artsy majors, you're pretty much going to be in hospitality forever, which is fine for me.
Yeah.
But straight out of that, I kind of scrambled around, didn't really know what to do. I think a lot of people my age felt that, and I think since, you get a degree and then you're like, now what?
Mhm.
So I did everything from working in a bakery to being a teacher for kindergartners. I did all kinds of odd jobs. I was in some bands, and I was DJing. Worked in an all-vinyl record shop, like all over the place.
Okay.
Really trying to find a place I felt like I fit in. Like just, I don't know. I'm one of those weird people that both loves and hates public spaces.
Okay. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I got you. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's always hard for me to find how to engage in these spaces. And I think a lot of people started bartending, especially back then, because we just needed like a task to be out. Just standing there was like, what do I do with myself? But yeah, I was actually supposed to DJ for a friend of mine. He's a promoter in Big Sur.
Okay.
And I was supposed to DJ for him for an event there. And basically the bartender didn't show up. And he came up to me and was like, hey, you know how to bartend, right? And I was like, absolutely. No idea.
No.
And he was like, cool, I'm going to DJ your records. You go bartend. And I did. And I made like $600.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I just held that. And it's all, ones and fives. It's just a massive pile. I just held that in my hand, and I went up to my friend, and I was like, yeah, I quit. I'm going to go bartend.
You're going to go bartend full-time? Okay.
Yeah.
What, this is probably simple cocktails for that event, right?
Oh, yeah. No, and back then, I mean, this was before we knew to stir drinks.
Okay.
So we shook everything with, like, the glass on tin, like, fully bad.
Like the Applebee's, well, I guess not an Applebee's style, but like, I guess Applebee's still does that.
I don't even. It's been a while, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, jiggers were like seen as a weakness. Like, oh, you're jiggering, you don't know how to do this, stuff like that. So that was quite a while ago, probably almost 20 years ago now.
Yeah.
And I kind of came up through that Bay Area scene a little bit through what we thought were fancy bars, but again, we were shaking Manhattans and everything. I'll never forget the first time somebody was like, hey, I read somewhere you're actually supposed to stir a Manhattan. And I was like, what are you talking about? You shake it. Anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, then it was like 2009, I think, when craft cocktails started to really go off in LA. And I was living up north in the Bay. And the Varnish opened and 7 Grand and places like that. And I was like, I need to go back home. I wanted to be a part of that scene there. So I moved back, and there was a place that had just opened called the Tasting Kitchen.
Okay.
And it was in Venice Beach, and it was doing really amazing cocktails. And I remember the first time I went in there, I couldn't afford to be there, first of all. Absolutely not. But I just remember how humbled I was in that space, even though I had been running bars in the Bay Area. Just like because craft was really starting to take off. This is like 2009. And I always tell people that are starting out, I say, when they say, hey, where should I even get a job? I'm like, go into a bar. And when you are there and you're humbled, you're like, whoa, I don't I don't belong here.
Mhm.
That's where you should get a job.
Yeah.
And they actually wouldn't, I tried out for the bar and they wouldn't hire me. I didn't
Okay.
have enough education or whatever word you want to put there. So I went back and I was working at another restaurant at the time, but I went back and I studied and I practiced and all this and that. And I tried out again and they didn't hire me again. And I told a person that I knew that worked there, like, look, I just need to get my foot in the door. And he was like, look, the only job we have is for a host. And I said, great, I'll host. And I remember my friends at the time were like, you're going to go from bartending at this bar to hosting at this place. Mm. And I was the world's worst host because I would answer the phone like, yeah, just like I was answering. Yeah, like bartenders just shouldn't answer the phones. That's the general rule of thumb.
Yeah.
I always loved, back in the day at the first bar I worked at, the phone for the restaurant was behind the bar. Mm. So you'd be bartending and answering the phone like, yeah, what do you want?
Yeah,
like,
yeah, for sure.
So, so I started as a host and did that for 8 months, worked my way up to food runner, and finally somebody missed a shift behind the bar. And I had been studying the cocktails, and they were like, hey, can you fill in? Mm-hmm. I was like, absolutely, I've been waiting for this. And from there, it just kind of grew and learned a lot there from some amazing people. Mm. And then started running some of my own programs in Los Angeles. Went from there. Yeah,
for sure. You brought up a good point of how I think a lot of people forget that being humbled is important.
Oh my God!
And right now,
if you're the smartest one in the room, you are wasting your time. Mm. You need to be in awe. Mm. And I know that that's a really a privileged thing. Like, when I became a host, my income obviously dropped drastically, and I had a lot of people that helped me through that time. But if you are in a position where you look around the room and you're the smartest one in the room, maybe try to find different avenues where you can be humbled or create groups where you can learn from people. I try and surround myself, as we said before, like by people that just blow my mind, whatever they do. It doesn't need to be just in hospitality. Yeah. That's one of the great things about us as hospitality workers is the diversity of creativity that we have. We all I have a photography degree that heavily impacts the way that I operate behind the bar and personally. Yeah. And everybody has that story, that background, that thing that drives them and gives them a unique vision on what they do. And really, just being around those creatives, it's massive.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely dealing with a lot of creatives too, like even with the photo video side, like you said, because we're a media company now. It's just like absolutely you need to surround yourself with people who all different personality types and styles, I think, and that's what's cool about hospitality and then like just creative sectors. Like there's so many things you can learn from just talking to people. And
I remember one of the bars I ran, one of the guys that worked for me was a ex-professional skater, and like just the way that he moved behind the bar and like his flow, I was like, man, that is amazing. Like, and he was just existing in a space. But what he brought to the style of bartending, I was like, you could see how the interlacing of how he learned to move at a fast pace on a board was impacting his bartending and things like that, where you're just like, damn, this is super cool. Yeah. Yeah. To see how people envision something as simple as pouring liquids in cups. Yeah. Yeah.
And we are a trade. Like both sectors, like photo and like bartending, it's a trade. You learn there's like a master and apprentice approach. So like you need to find someone that you can learn stuff like
100%.
Working with Paul McGee last week is just like a completely different style of bartending. I didn't consider thinking about it. I'm just like,
crazy
okay,
Paul.
this is turning. Yeah, he's great. I love.
He's amazing.
He's amazing. The styles of bartending is completely different than
his
what
head's
I'm used to. Yeah, it's.
Well, and that's it. He's a great example of like how your creative passions influence the way you perform this trade. Yeah. Like I could never replicate. If I did, it would be so phony. And yet it's uniquely him and uniquely like awe-inspiring in a way. Like you're like, damn, this guy is like, no wonder he's a legend. And that's the thing, like, that's the thing I think that keeps me so happy to be a part of this community. Wherever I am, even just being in Houston and meeting so many individuals, you see like how inspiring anyone at any level can be to you and your craft, whatever that may be. It's really powerful, and I think that's the importance of a tight-knit community and investing in a community, whether it be on a micro or macro level. Yeah,
especially on the brand side too.
Yeah,
the trade advocacy is very, very critical.
Yeah,
for that.
Well, yeah, and I mean that's really why I moved. For me, when I was running bars in LA, I really wanted. I always used to joke with my bar team like that I was kind of the last home for the forgotten, if you will.
Okay.
Because I felt like that in a way, like I don't fit the mold of. I'm not flashy. I hate that. For me personally, I love watching people do flashy. It's just not me. It's not my style. I can't do it. And like, I think I wanted to create an environment where people could be uniquely themselves, be honest. And when I got the opportunity with Bombay, when they reached out to me, and I thought, man, wouldn't it be amazing to do that on a bigger scale? Give a voice to people that haven't necessarily been given those opportunities in a lot of ways, which is where things like MIB and things like that really kicked off for me. Yeah.
So good segue is definitely. So
Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
I'm just moving along.
Yeah, we're moving right along. So talking about being humbled and pushing yourself to grow, what pushed you to get to like doing MIB and legacy and starting to like get into this whole competitive bartending scene? Because you were running bars at that point. You were doing programs. What drove you to take that step into getting into competitions?
The real answer is not a pretty one. You imagine it's 2015, I would say, 2014, 2015. And really you're starting to see the rise of publications really starting to talk about the best of this, the best of that. Prior to that, you just wanted to be the best in your neighborhood and learn from the people around you. And that's the beauty, I think, of LA, is it's so big. And I think Houston has a lot of this. It's massive. Like to cross these cities is huge, right? And so there's space for everybody to kind of do their own weird thing. You're not really on top of each other or in direct competition, if you will.
Yeah.
You just have your little bubble, Venice Beach, whatever it may be, and that's where you're rocking. And I think, like, really when you think about the expansiveness and the opportunity to project your voice, I don't know. The real answer is I got tired of reading about New York all the time. Let's be real. Yeah. And that's no shade to New York. They really kicked things off in this craft world. And in 2014, 2015, they were leaps and bounds better than a lot of communities because of that. Yeah. They had some geniuses that came from all over the world to bring some really awesome creative ideas there. But I wanted to represent LA. And that's been a constant theme for me in my life. I'm very proud to have been born and raised there, and I wanted to showcase what we did uniquely there. Yeah. So I entered competitions, not even necessarily, and people get mad at me for this, and they did at the time too, but the goal wasn't to win. The goal was to represent what we did, because I was tired of sitting around with my community and my friends and bitch about another article that only talked about New York bars. And I was like, well, let's do something about it. Let's enter these competitions. Let's get our name out there. So I did. I was like, fuck it, oops.
You're fine.
Whoops. But I really was. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna enter these things, and I'm gonna showcase who I am and who I think a Los Angeles vision is for the bar community. Because again, especially now that I have this job, I really realize how unique and different every community is because of the cultural diversity, which we were talking about before. Because of so many different impacts to a community, it really does color culinary, and on the flip side, the cocktails of that community. There's definitely some homogenization happening now, thanks to people moving and articles and things like that. But by and large, there's still like unique, like the margarita in Texas is always going to be kind of a staple piece.
Yeah.
People are going to judge you on that, and that's uniquely Texas. So I basically, I remember I sat down with my then assistant bar manager at the bar I was running. I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to enter any cocktail competition that I believe in that spirit, that I would be proud to serve that spirit.
Yeah.
And I started just entering with, trying to showcase what we did. And luckily enough, I did end up winning. I kind of felt like a dog chasing a car. And once I caught the car, I was like, oh, crap, now what?
Yeah.
But, expanding your universe through these competitions changed my life.
Yeah, for sure.
Entirely. Yeah. I can't recommend taking opportunities. And, I think we get really wrapped up in being number one and winning now.
Yeah.
There's something beautiful just about putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
Win, lose, or draw, you've showcased not only yourself, but your community. And you've given a gift to the people there, and you've given a gift to yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah.
That's definitely the good thing about like competitions. Like even if you don't win, like World Class was my big competition that I would enter. And like when I first got into it, I was kind of the same thing. It's just like the rep came in. I remember because it was when I was at the Westin just opened, and they're like, "Hey, we got this competition we want you to enter, or you think you'd be a good fit for." I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna have time to do it, right?
It's a lot of time.
Because it's a lot of time and work. I didn't realize what I was getting into. And I'm just like, okay, cool. I'll submit something. It seems like it's pretty approachable. And then I made it to I made it to regionals.
Man.
And that was my first big intro into like that big competition. My first competition was Espelon cocktail fights.
Oh yeah.
Back when they were doing it.
Yeah.
Back in the day. That was my first intro to cocktail bartending ever. And like I was totally like not ready to walk into what I walk into that for that one. It was great. It's a fun one though.
Yeah.
I just wasn't expecting it. And then World Class came in. I'm just like, I don't know what I'm going to expect for this. And it was definitely a little bit more professional. And everybody was supporting each other, which is really cool. Like, and even
that's it.
Yeah, everybody, like, even with MIB and like Legacy, right? It's like
it's a huge community.
It's a community.
It's unbelievable. The first cocktail competition I actually ever did was MIB. And I was kind of tricked into joining, I'm not going to lie. But a friend of mine, Dan Long, kind of helped me basically enter the whole thing. But that's a long story, but it's pretty funny. But I remember at the finals watching the other competitors and just being like humbled again, like, oh my God, I am not at this level. And it's funny because I couldn't really envision myself ever even being at that level. Like when you see people doing such amazing jobs, and that feeling is important, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
It really motivates you to like take it to the next level. And again, comes back to just being surrounded by people that you're like, wow, I'm just in awe. And
inspiration, getting inspired from other people's works. It's it's
a hell of a kick in the butt.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned how you kind of got into the competitions for not winning. It was more to express where you're at, and that's one thing I also align with. I think with you is like I did initially I did it because I wanted to win, right? That first year, and then the second year, like, no, I'm doing this because I want to promote Houston.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And learn and continue to grow and develop myself.
Yeah.
Professionally, I wasn't really in it to win it. Where there's some people, and the people that have won World Class are just there representing the best of who they are.
For sure.
In my opinion, like that's the people that have won.
Yeah.
Like if you're chasing the gold, the judges can tell right away.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you've judged. I've been on the judging panels too. It's just like you can see when someone's chasing that star and they're not being unique to themselves.
Well, and that comes back to talking about people like Paul and all that being like just leaning into. That's the beauty of bartending. Is there a space for people to lean into? This is me, and I bring something unique. I bring a unique voice to this community, And all those voices are super important to our longevity, our depth, our growth, and really having the confidence to put that on display without, being afraid, I think is super important and valuable in any way that you interact in this world, bartending wise, especially. I love our community for the fact that we are always trying to be more inclusive and open more doors for folks. And there are people that constantly humble me by their ability to stand up in a room and be themselves, unafraid. It's a beautiful thing, and competitions are nothing more than a platform for you to do that. I always tell people, like, at the very worst, you get to stand up in front of people that you look up to, whomever those judges are, and showcase what you're about and blow their mind a little bit. Like, that's an awesome opportunity to get their ear for 5 minutes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So MIB was probably one of the big stepping stones to kind of get you visibility within Bombay Sapphire and Bacardi.
Yeah.
Would you recommend someone doing competitions to kind of help get them that visibility, or do you think there's other avenues for them to get noticed? I guess
I think there's so many avenues now. I think the biggest thing to do is to really focus in your community. Be a member, be a piece of the puzzle, put yourself out there. I think cocktail competitions have kind of started to shift a little bit, and you've seen less and less of them.
Yeah.
But there's still so many ways to get the message out there.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be by being the best or getting an award or anything like that. Like, I hope we're going back to more of a time where just supporting the community and helping to elevate others is a great way to also elevate the entire room, if you will. But if a cocktail competition calls out to you, or if you feel inspired, you definitely should go for it. It's a ton of work, as you said, and that's something to definitely keep in mind. But also, as a good friend of mine always says, you get back what you put in, always. And I think that's true of a lot of aspects to this job.
Yes.
The work you put in on the side, you will always get it back. And that's something that's truly unique, I think, to bartending in general. Yeah.
It is hard work, but it does.
Yeah.
It definitely pays off, and that's why I think all of us love it.
Yeah.
Like, we love to hate it, but we still love it.
Yeah. It's definitely, I love it. I love that I can sit down with someone in any city that does this job, and we can talk about anything, and there's a commonality. Again, the important, I keep saying the word community because the importance of that to me is huge, because I was grasping for that for so long with other jobs, with other cities. I've lived all over the world trying to find a place to call home. And bartending was very much it. When I started bartending, there were no awards. You didn't know about 90%. There were no cocktail bloggers or anything.
Yeah.
And it was just like, wow, I feel like I can be myself here, which myself is not always the easiest thing for people.
Yeah. There's all of us that have our own unique things, right?
That's what makes it beautiful, though.
Yeah, that's why it's, like you said, it's diversity.
Yeah.
It's diversity in the industry.
Yeah, I love it.
Awesome. Well, I know we talked a little bit about where you started. We talked about some competition work. What led you to getting into the ambassador role after all that?
Yeah.
I know you said you wanted to do trade advocacy, so you kind of built into that. So what steps
I really
did you
didn't, though.
Okay.
I really didn't. I was running 3 bars in LA at the time, and I'd done Legacy. I had won it for North America a year before.
Okay.
And that one, I think, really is what busted the door open in Bacardi. And I just loved, I really enjoyed and still enjoy the people that worked, and a lot of them still work for Bacardi.
Yeah.
They have very little turnover, and I love those people, and I loved the environment that they created, and got to know them very well through MIB and Legacy. Yeah, about a year after I did Legacy, they reached out and were like, hey, Gary Hayward, who used to be the North American brand ambassador for Bombay, had stepped down. And they were looking for someone, and they were like, hey, we would really like you to do it. Or I think they even just said, we just want you to interview for it. And I was like, no, not interested. You know, I suffer from this now. I'm paying my penance, I always like to say, because I was that guy, that asshole bartender that didn't carry any quote unquote big brands. And I definitely was difficult. Let's say that.
Okay.
I know that's hard to imagine.
Yeah.
And like, I didn't carry Sapphire for 13 of the 15 years that I bartended. And a big part of that was because I was too cool for that, right? Mm. My aunt drank Bombay Sapphire, so I'm cooler than my aunt. So I don't carry that, you know, this kind of idea.
Yeah.
So brand work to me was always like, oh, you've given up in a way. And yeah, it's funny now looking back. There's a lot of things that I would do differently now, but that's how I felt at the time, and I still had a lot of growing up to do, and a lot of confidence to build into. But yeah, I basically wasn't super into it. But then I remembered, you know, Bombay always really drove creativity, and my degree being photography and kind of my ethos being around that.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I wonder if I could do Bombay. So I was like, screw it. You know what? I'm going to just take the interview. And if I don't get it, who cares?
Yeah.
Which I think is a good way to really do anything in life.
Yeah.
Like, put yourself out there. But again, I don't care if I win. Same idea as competitions, really, is kind of how I went for it.
Yeah.
And I did the interview. And I literally said in the interview, look, if you're looking for a guy to wear a blue suit and say Bombay is the greatest gin on the planet, you got the wrong guy. I'm not going to be that guy. And I thought, cool, that's not happening.
Yeah. Okay.
And then they called me back. They're like, we want to do another interview with you. I was like, really? That's crazy. And then I started to really think about it. And again, back to that ethos of like making a home and creating opportunities for people in Los Angeles that I felt like hadn't been given a shot, if you will.
Yeah.
I was like, man, if I can do that on a bigger scale, that would be insane.
Yeah.
I would love that. So I really started to want it then, and then had a few more interviews, and thankfully it took a little while, but they went ahead and had me apply or had me sign on and moved me to Miami, and I've been there for 6 years, and they've been super gracious to me. I don't know why somewhere along the way people thought that bartenders like could transition well into ambassador roles. There's no similarity between being a bartender and being an ambassador besides just the language of the cocktails.
Yeah.
It was a very long and hard learning. I never worked in a more Bacardi is family owned. It's definitely not corporate, but it's more structured, more corporate setting.
Like a structure, like.
Yeah, and I'd never worked in that. I'd never had an office before or any of these things. So it was a very big learning curve, and I definitely stick out, and my team puts up with a lot of my nonsense. That's very not corporate language, I guess. But yeah, it's been amazing to have them empower me to do crazy stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. What is? Yeah, this is good little segue into like what specifically do you have like KPIs, performance indicators, or what specifically are your goals and tasks within this role that you have to? If you can talk about them.
No, I can't. I mean, It's funny because I always tell people my job is just to demystify gin. Like, gin is such a small category in America, and it's arguably one of the most misunderstood spirits. When I applied for the role, I remember thinking, man, I really hope they don't ask me a lot of questions about gin. Because if you had said, hey, what's a London dry gin mean? I would have, beat around the bush quite a bit, hoping to distract you from the fact that I didn't have a clear, succinct answer. Okay. I think growing up in California, in the bar world at least, and probably very similar to Texas, I can answer clear cut tequila, mezcal, raicilla. I got you. We could talk about that. I can give you a one sentence. This is what it is.
Okay.
And with gin, I couldn't.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I really hope they don't test me too much. Thankfully, they didn't. But yeah, I mean, gin is just above 3% of total alcohol sales in North America. It's the lowest spirit category by leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
And a big part of that is just misunderstanding of what it is or how to use it. And so I think, that's the biggest piece of my job.
Yeah.
And that's, what I do the most of is just trying to help people understand, like, what is gin?
Yeah.
And what do you do with it? And how can it be used? And then also shining a light on Bombay because, as I said, 13 or 15 years, I didn't carry it. I didn't understand where it fell in the category of gin. I didn't understand what they were doing. I didn't understand so many things.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I think it's because I wasn't open to listening. I always make the joke that if you drop the blue bottle in front of somebody, 9 times out of 10, they're just going to tune out. Like, yeah, I know that. I've seen it in Costco. Yeah. We don't need to talk about this. I want to talk about that nerdy one that no one's ever heard of so I can look cool in front of my patrons.
Yeah.
So, a bit of it is, me paying penance for that and getting the education out about the different styles of gin and how Bombay falls into that. But yeah, it's funny. I don't really have like KPIs.
Okay.
I just get to go to all these different amazing cities and help other people achieve their goals in a sense.
Yeah.
That's, I'm like a supporting actor in the play.
Yeah, for sure. Like you're the technician in the back that makes them look good in the lighting and everything else, right?
Yeah, and I mean, and I always tell that to people, like coming to Houston, like I'm a spaceship that landed for 2 days and I'm gone, and my goal is more to help you, help your community.
Yeah, like
education has always been so important to this community from the get-go, even when it was bad and wrong and ridiculous. I love that about us. As a group, we are all hungry to learn more, no matter what it is. Especially if somebody stands up and we're like, oh, damn, you know what you're talking about. Cool, I'm going to sit here and listen.
Yeah.
So for me, like that hunger and just being able to come in and help build that growth and try to undo some of the things that I felt like I perpetrated. Misunderstandings around the category itself, that's important to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. So more education focused, helping grow and develop community members.
Yeah.
Within the overall North American market.
Yeah. And and things like MIB as well. Also trying to give voice to people that didn't necessarily fit the mold of certain stereotypes. I remember a long time ago, like 5 years ago when I was first on the brand, they really wanted me to come up with a way to, mental health has always been a huge conversation in our industry, and thankfully it's more out in the open than ever. Yeah. I think is so important and valuable, and there's so many people doing amazing things on that front. But, I remember them saying, hey, we need Bombay to do something to get people out there and encourage mental health, taking care of yourself, all this and that. Yeah. And I remember thinking, like, I'm not a person that goes for a run for my mental health. I'm not a person that, exercise is the opposite effect on my mental health than positive.
Okay. Yeah, I got you.
And I was like, well, what is it that helps me? And I was like, man, taking photos, taking a minute, going for a walk, clearing my head with my camera, thinking about only that, things like that. And I was like, man, I would love to create something that is for those types of people, where your creative passion is the thing that helps you in life, in general. And so Bombay also giving me a lot of opportunity to build MIB into what it became, and an opportunity to shine light on so many different creative passions in our industry and how we vitally need their voice. Yeah. That's probably been my biggest blessing of working with this brand, is that they opened those doors and saw the importance of investing in the community and creating those creative outlets for people, helping them to see bigger and beyond themselves.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think that's definitely important. Like you said, mental health is definitely something that wasn't talked about enough.
Oh, for sure.
In this industry. And
well, and then when it was like, let's all go for a run. And that's amazing. My partner, that's what she does. Mm-hmm. She goes for a run to, to have that clarity and to help her through the day, if you will.
Yeah.
And I think that's absolutely insane. That sounds like a nightmare. But everybody has their different ways. And so creating those avenues and opening up that it's okay that you don't necessarily, running is not your bag. That's cool. Like, what is? Yeah. And make sure, because the biggest thing I learned from running bars, when I was running 3 bars at the same time, I made no time for my creative passion. I didn't take one photo, and I'm talking like with a camera, not my cell phone, obviously. Yeah. I didn't take one photo for probably 5 years, easily, if not more. Because it just didn't make the time for it, right? Because it's, you work, you sleep, you work, you sleep, you work, you sleep, you eat over a trash can. Like, when do you have time for that? And so for me, reminding people that if you don't invest in yourself, in your creative, you will run out of gas.
Yeah.
And
for sure. We're definitely hustlers.
And that's a beautiful thing about us. But it can also be our downfall.
Yep.
It definitely was for me when I left those 3 bars. I was broken. Like, it took me a while. And I wish somebody had stopped me and said, hey, these bars are dope and your drinks are dope, but how are you investing in yourself?
Yeah.
And are you taking just 30 minutes to do something for yourself creatively to give you that energy? Or for some people, it's a run. For some people, it's a class or whatever, whatever it may be. Yeah, video game, any kind of creative pursuit. Yeah. Are you investing in, yourself in that way?
Yeah.
Culinary, people love like cooking. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of good cooks as well.
Yeah. So, it's been a wild ride, but
that's exciting. Well, it's definitely, mental health is definitely something that I'm glad is at the forefront now for everybody, especially on the brands. It's definitely a good thing. You talked a little bit about MIB and kind of the revamp, I guess, of the program, because I know when you did it was different, and then now it's a grant program.
Yeah.
Were you kind of the spearhead of that initiative, or did you work with team, or was it the team,
it was
a team collab?
It was a team collaboration for sure. Well, when I did it in 2015, it was very much like, what's the craziest cocktail you can come up with? Bonus points if you create a terrarium, kind of a thing. And again, that's not to diminish what was done. Like, the gentleman who beat me and all of us that year, Justin Lavenue, is an absolute... I remember watching him go, and I went, if this guy doesn't win, this whole thing is a fake. Like, he deserves this win. I hope he won by 50 points over everybody. Like, I've never been so in awe. And that's really, like, that was where we were at as an industry back then, right? Like, creativity was like, throw the kitchen sink at it, because we were just getting our feet, I think 2 years before that, it was a cocktail with Saint Germain and cucumber, I think, or something. Like, we were just beginning to really grow into this, like, holy shit, you can really throw anything at a cocktail.
Yeah.
The kitchen sink era, I call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A bunch of ingredient cocktails.
Yeah. Which is funny, because I was always my focus for my degree was the minimalistic photography of the Bauhaus, which thanks to Remy became super talked about recently. But so minimalism was always a thing. I remember I got disqualified from a cocktail competition once, which I won't name, because I didn't have a garnish. And they were like, a cocktail has to have a garnish. I said, not if it doesn't serve a purpose. Yeah. And they were like, well, you can't enter with this cocktail. I was like, okay, cool. Well, then I guess I'm not doing this.
Yeah, the functional garnish.
Yeah.
Functional garnish is something that...
Yeah, now I love seeing that people are really thinking about, like, if the garnish doesn't have a place, I'm not going to use it.
Yeah.
And yet you still have people like Paul that's like, hey, how about 20 garnishes? This is dope. And you're like, it is dope.
Yeah.
But yeah,
sure.
yeah. So when I came onto the brand, they were really looking for a way to reinvigorate MIB.
Yeah.
Not that it was not vigorous, but just to give it a new vision.
Yeah.
Because I think, 2019, 2018, when I came in, I think we as a community had kind of maxed out the kitchen sink universe.
Mm-hmm.
And now I remember sitting down with some friends of mine and going, what is a truly creative cocktail? What does that mean?
Yeah.
And what it kept coming back to was a unique vision. And I said, okay, how do we create something around a unique vision? And it came down to like me talking with a lot of key people that have been involved in MIB for a long time, past winners, past losers,
Mm-hmm.
past hosts, past, as well as people who I looked up to as creatives. And just thinking about like, what is something that unifies all of us? And I was like, we all have different perspectives on the same function.
Yeah.
And that comes from these passions that we have. And so I was like, man, we really got to create something there. And so thanks to a really great group of individuals that, not just on Bombay, but on all of Bacardi and also friends of that competition and that brand, we created what MIB became and has become, which is this very much like, yes, make an amazing cocktail, but it doesn't need to be something with a ingredient nobody's heard of or a style that nobody's heard of. Like, forget that. That's not true creativity. True creativity is, taking and using the same 4 ingredients as somebody else, but doing it with a unique vision.
Yeah.
Because of those passions, the unique way you look at bartending.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, and again, it comes back to that idea of like making sure you're investing in that because that's where your creativity is coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And MIB has always been a good program. I've just never, like Legacy and MIB, I'd never entered. I was always just focused on world class because again, it's like if you do all 3, like,
you're an insane
I'm
person.
Like,
yeah, you just want to hurt yourself.
Yeah, I've met people who were doing
yeah,
it.
I know a few.
I'm like, y'all are good for you. It's great.
No, and I mean, and again, I don't judge if you don't want to do any, and I don't judge if you want to do every single one.
Yeah.
I just think what's most important is why.
Yeah.
What do you want from that?
Right.
And if you just want the award and to be the best in the world, I challenge you to have better goals.
Yep. Absolutely.
Because we are not, the beauty of bartending is you are not alone. That's why we do it. It's a community, right? And even in your shift where maybe you are the solo bartender, there's still other individuals in that room with you. And it is a dance we do together. And so
collaboration.
Yeah, the people who I look at as the best are only the best because of their team. And like Eric Van Beek recently did a seminar in Miami, and he talked about, I'd say 90% of his conversation was around his team.
Yeah.
And how important it was to empower them and to give them a platform.
Yeah.
And that is it. And I know those people that I look up to as mentors and legends in the industry in all communities, they would agree with that 1,000%.
Yeah.
And so if you're entering a competition because you want to be the best and you want to be known, awesome. But you're not, that's not it. Yeah. That's not you're missing the point of all of this.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And I know that's a very black and white image of something, but I'm pretty passionate about that. I think, you will never go wrong trying to lift up your community rather than yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Help others before yourself.
Totally.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
heavy
points.
stuff.
Yeah,
Sorry.
No, good. Very, very good points. Definitely appreciate the insight. I think it's great to hear that. Like, I think we need to talk about it more often.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
especially now. I think just subtle like little hints or reminders like there's more to this than that.
Well, and I
Yeah,
struggle
yeah,
with it because, like, people say things to me about me, and my first thought is always, it's never just me. I look at my team as a bar team.
yeah,
Um, and the personalities that they have, they all bring something to the table that I can't provide. I look like, for me, I still run the Bombay team in the same way that I ran my bar.
Mhm.
And I know people who are brand ambassadors who are in it to lift themselves, and you see it. I've had my time, and I'm grateful for every moment I've had in this industry, but this is a team effort now, and always has been for me, but this is a team effort. And even though, yes, I am the North American ambassador, I feel like I am a puzzle piece of all of my team put together, and I'm just held together by them.
yeah.
And we're in this together. Like, it sounds really hokey and really self-helpy, and I apologize for that, but it is really how I see it.
Mhm.
I remember when I was hiring individuals for the bar, it's very similar to how I hired for Bombay, or how I do hire. I'm looking at personalities. I'm looking at puzzle pieces.
Yeah.
You need all these different people to come together. It's very much Power Rangers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they all have their.
And I am just another Power Ranger. I'm not Megazord. We are all Megazord.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's a really good analogy though.
It's horrible.
I like it.
My nerd hat just came on real heavy there, and I apologize to everyone. That's embarrassing, but listen, if you didn't grow up with Power Rangers, I worry.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, they're still around.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
So bad.
so let's go ahead and segue into a little bit about. You said you had to pay penance to do Bombay Sapphire. So what is your elevator pitch for Sapphire? Now,
Well,
let's hear your elevator pitch.
Yeah, elevator pitch. Well, and I think my goal for gin is the same goal I think we had for rum or even agave spirits back in the day. And that's just education, just to understand the spirit.
Yeah.
The diversity in gin is massive. You have everything from strawberry rhubarb pie to I Fell on a Christmas Tree.
Yeah.
And everything in between. And yes, that has to do with the botanicals you chose, for sure. But it also has to do with how you distilled it. And I think, for me, understanding more and more how gin is made and the vision. Gin really is like, the distillers of gin are distilling in a way almost like how we make cocktails. Each botanical being an ingredient in your cocktail, each one coming in to create this vision.
Yeah.
And then we take that already painted painting and create another painting with it. So kind of layers on layers of this, creating a full piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
And so there's steps all along the way that distillers create this painting. And I didn't realize that. And I think a lot of times the mistake that we made, or I made, specifically talking about myself, is we all agree factory farming and things like that. No, bad stuff, right?
Yeah.
Not a fan. And I am fully on board with that in ways. My dad is a farmer. He grows avocados just outside of LA.
Okay.
I grew up around this agricultural environment, fully on board with factory farming being bad. What I think we did is, at the same time as the culinary revolution, the cocktail revolution was kind of coming on the winds of that.
Yeah.
And we applied a lot of the same logic to cocktails. And the thing is, it's not quite the same analogies. Like, because you make a lot of something doesn't make you making it bad. In fact, a lot of times it actually makes it so that you can make it better.
Yeah.
Having now spent so much time with our master distiller, Dr. M. Brock, I've learned so much about the steps that you can take because you do so much. You have so many resources to create something truly unique and amazing. And the definition of craft starts to become, what does that even mean?
Right.
Does craft mean that you source your botanicals with terroir in mind sustainably? I would say yes.
Mm-hmm.
Bombay does that. Does craft mean that you have a small team of distillers that make your gin or spirit? I would say probably yes. Bombay has 9 people that run that distillery.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so along the way, like, I think we applied, like, okay, factory farming is this. We're going to put that same thought process here.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's not big or small. What is important is the why, just like behind the bar, right? And so where do you get your botanicals and how? How do you distill and what do you do with the waste? And how do you bottle and what do you bottle in? And across the board, thinking of the future of not only gin distillation, but this entire planet.
Yeah.
Those are the things that I think make that make sense. And so, asking better questions rather than just like making a clear cut, oh, you're a big company, so you must be bad. I was guilty of that, and I know there's a lot that still feel that way. But again, I think it's really important to see, like, because Bombay's so big, they have this opportunity to work directly with the farmers and growers and not buy from brokers. That is the reason I am sitting here.
Yeah.
Like, without that piece of the puzzle, like, I would be much less inspired to talk about Bombay in general.
Yeah.
Because I've seen what is happening to our agricultural industry through watching my father's route in life.
Yeah.
And we need to support farmers and growers and harvesters and that whole, and within agave, we have this language. We talk about coyotes. We talk about sourcing. We talk about all these things.
Yep.
And yet with gin, we leave that conversation completely out. And yet you have anywhere from 4 to 40 something botanicals in this bottle that are all grown somewhere by someone.
Yeah.
How are you leaving that community is the most important piece of the puzzle to me. So definitely talk about that. And then distillation styles. Like, again, I use rum as the example because that makes the most sense to me. The difference between English style rum and Spanish or Cuban style rum is not anything more than how you distill it.
Yeah.
You're starting with molasses in both cases, and you can argue quality and grade and all that. Yeah, okay, great.
Yeah.
But one is done in a hybrid whiskey or cognac or some kind of still like that.
Yeah.
And one is done in a hybrid still, usually with a column attached somewhere.
Yeah.
And those create completely different spirits for completely different purposes. If you make a Cuba Libre, a daiquiri, a mojito, any of those Cuban classics with an English style rum, you have made sad versions of those cocktails.
Yeah.
Because they're built around the energy, the lift that a Cuban or Spanish style rum brings to a cocktail. That's the facts.
Yep.
And yet in gin, we have the exact same analogies because there are 2 main ways. There's really 3, but 2 main ways that gin is distilled: steep and boil and vapor infusion. And they have very similar effects to English and Spanish style rum.
Yep.
As far as the weight, the oiliness, the viscosity, the earthiness of a gin versus the lift. And a lot of gin producers now are playing around with that. Some are doing certain botanicals steep and boiled and others vapor infused. Vacuum is playing a part now, right, as well.
Yep.
That's a whole nother conversation.
Yep.
But people are playing around with how they distill each botanical to, again, create that picture in the end that they're giving to the bartender who gets to create masterpieces with their art already.
Yeah.
And I love trying to just open people's eyes to that because I didn't understand that at all. I did not, I was the guy that like, oh, shoot, that one gin brand's coming in for that feature dinner thing tonight.
Yeah.
I told him I would have a 3-drink menu with their gin, and I totally forgot. Well, let's just use those drinks we did last week with that other gin and throw it in there. But this gin's 100% steep and boiled, has a ton of weight, and has a ton of beautiful earthy tones and pininess, right? And now this gin is half steep and boiled and half vapor infused. So it's doing a lift and a weight on your palate. Same cocktails aren't going to work the same. It's not going to be the same.
Yeah.
And just trying to share this like little bits of knowledge and inspire bartenders, to taste, think about how it falls on the palate, but also the flavors from those amazing botanicals.
Yep.
And then thinking about, okay, how can I use that to its strengths? That's really my goal.
Okay.
Just to inspire, again, more creativity. Same way, Highland versus Lowland agave, different types of stills. We understand this in all different spirit categories. Gin somehow just has been left out of the conversation.
Yep.
And in every way, really. Mm-hmm. So.
I guess the most common thing I've heard behind the bar is like, oh, my grandma drank gin and I didn't. I tried it once and I had a bad experience with it and I never drank it again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's it. Yeah. I don't know if anyone realizes this, but we're all just reactions to what came before us.
Yeah.
Whether it's art or just humanity. We're all reactions.
Yeah.
When we were very small, Riesling was amazing and everybody drank Riesling. Then when we were coming of age, Riesling was like what your mom drank and you didn't drink it. Now Riesling's cool again and everybody wants to drink Riesling. Like everything is a reaction. I remember I won the Amaro Lucano competition way back. I don't even remember what year that was. Yeah. And one of the things was to go around Italy making drinks with Amaro Lucano. Yeah. And I was super excited, right? And it was me and a couple other folks. And everybody that came to these bars for these pop-ups, they were like, oh, are you making drinks with Amaro? It's like, yeah, we have all these cool drinks, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I don't want to drink that. I want to drink whiskey, American whiskey, in fact. Can you make me something with American whiskey? Well, no, I've been brought here by Amaro Lucano. I'm going to make. And that's it. Like, we all are obsessed with Amaro over here because it's something we've never seen. Our parents don't know anything about it. We've never been introduced to it. Yeah. But over there, Amaro is your dad's drink, your mom's drink. That's not cool. American whiskey is cool, right? Yeah. And we're all just reactions.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's kind of a funny one that way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, gin gets a bad rap because, my grandma drank it. My aunt drank it. Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I do training with Bombay and somebody's like, oh, yeah, I know Bombay. My grandma, it's her favorite gin. Yeah. Like, oh, so you hate me. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing the gin information with us. I think that was a good
not quite an elevator pitch.
No, but that was very insightful. I appreciate it. It was very, very distilled.
Oh, well,
there you go.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah. Thanks for having me ramble for a while.
No, it was a good conversation, and there was a lot of good points here.
Thank you.
The big one for today is making sure we're taking care of ourselves.
Yeah.
For sure.
Definitely invest in yourself.
Yeah.
It will always be a good use of your time.
Absolutely. Where can people follow you? Do you have handles? Yeah.
Like Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram. What's your Instagram handles, or how can people, if they have any additional questions, how can they get in contact with you?
Yeah, please. Yeah. I mean, or criticisms. I love criticism. Yeah. It's much easier for me to handle than positive things. So my Instagram is Vision in Motion, which is also a book by Laszlo Mihalinaj from the Bauhaus. If you ever want to really bore yourself to tears, you can read that.
Awesome.
But yeah, Vision in Motion with the underscores, whatever. I'm out there. You'll find me.
Yeah,
it's cool.
For sure.
But yeah, please. And honestly, when I did Legacy, they ask you, what is your legacy? Which is a really messed up thing to ask a 30-year-old at the time, but 30-something-year-old. I always thought, man, my grandma has a legacy. I do not. But the thing that I ended up coming to was honesty and the importance of that.
Yeah.
And, that's been a hallmark of my whole focus, my career, whatever you want to use there, whatever word.
Yeah.
And I think being honest to yourself and being honest to those around you is so vitally important. And although at times it's not easy in the moment and it's hard, I think you end up showing your love and care for yourself and the community around you when you are. And I mean, hit me with some honesty out there, I guess. Sure. Let's have it.
Yeah.
I love hearing how terrible I am, how wrong I am about something.
No. Absolutely. No. Honesty is definitely important. I get you.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Again, thank you for joining us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Appreciate it.
Next time we'll get you in. Hopefully we'll start talking more nerdy stuff and some cocktails.
I'm down. We can talk nerdy stuff. Yeah. It's ugly in there, but I'll get there.
Yeah, for sure. Next time you're in.
Yeah.
Cool.
Let's do it.
Awesome.